and that is true. We're not overwhelmed with Oregon, not overwhelmed with Villa. We get a good variety. And also, you know, yesterday, I'll be honest, I came into the day thinking that those games were going to be stomps. And they weren't. We actually had some really good games yesterday. And today, I think if any day is going to be good for close games, it's probably going to be today. So don't let me down, LATAM. You can do it.
Can we address this ginormous elephant in the room? Team One have just banned Buck.
Oh, that was Team One who banned Buck. I didn't even think about that. I just assumed it was INTZ.
What does that tell you about Vits? If the fact that Team One are banning Buck, we saw Vits yesterday. He was a nightmare on the Buck.
Dude, if anything is a mind game, that is it. And let's be real as well. You know, Alamau has been taking on the Flores role quite a bit as well in this stage. So what it kind of says is, yeah, we don't need him.
We've barely seen Alamau play the Buck this stage. He's regularly on the Zafir, as you mentioned, sometimes on the Flores. It isn't something that he's really crutched into as much as we saw him in stage 2 and certainly over the course of 6 Invitational. So I like that from Team One. That's a really nice ban.
I like that because it's very much like they're going to be in this false sense of security that the Buck is going to be available because the buckiest Buck player is on the opponent's team. They ban it out and it's like, yeah, we don't want him. You can't have him either.
Team One have really just gone bucket and they've gotten rid of the Buck. Hey. Well, it makes a lot of sense because Vits is, you know, a bit of a nightmare. Yesterday he had a great game. So already the mind games have begun. Now the other bans did come through. There was maybe not anything too much of note. Nothing really wild that you wouldn't have expected. A Thatcher, a Valkyrie, and a Goyo. So pretty par for the course bans here on Chalet. Team One starting off on the attack. They're going to be attacking Master Bedroom. It's a map where there is a lot of opportunity for the attackers as well, and something that we see Team Liquid do, and we're going to talk about Team Liquid probably quite a bit because they're a very successful Chalet side. They're able to pick up a lot of kills on the rotation, and it's down to that coordination, that drone effort that's going in together. That's really one of the things that you've got to try and be aware of here.
Now, one of the problems that Santos faced against Team One yesterday is not being able to clear out their utility well enough. Now, when we're on this half, it's not going to matter so much because Team One is starting on the attack, but that's something that I want to be looking out for later on is how INTZ deal with that. Team One on the attack, we did see have some really good pre-placed drones. And it meant they had a lot of early information against the defenders. Now, when you've got someone like Vits who's playing on a Vigil, it might make things like pre-placed drones a bit harder to deal with. And I want to see how well this roam is going to counter that. But KDS getting the opening kill onto Zach. He's been a huge player for INTZ, so to lose him early is actually quite a devastating loss.
Zach's been a very big impact and obviously has brought a lot in terms of fresh mindset to the team. So an opening pick that goes unresponded is never ideal, but Vits is still out here on the prowl looking to challenge onto these players as we're seeing a north side push here from Team One. A lot of focus on that Solarium area, and well, the cross is already being watched from the window, so Vits isn't going to be able to make that rotation.
Still trying to have some attention pointing up towards the north side of the map. We've seen... Oh, that was a really nice shot from Neskin. We've seen a lot of attacking teams like to come in through Solarium and Bathroom. It's become more and more popular as time has gone on, and it looks like Team One are really looking to do something like that. You can see INTZ trying to put this attention over through to Bathroom, but there's the big window, and Master is going to come around and bite drunks, and the INTZ are all just going down one by one. It's VNX left at the end. He's going to seek out the Yokai drone, but actually I think he missed that shot. He still gets the kill, but the plant has gone down, Ollie.
Tough stuff there. Team One executing very, very nicely indeed. INTZ immediately at a man disadvantage and then struggling to get that control back of the site. As soon as someone's on that big window repel, it becomes very difficult to do anything, and you're pretty much looking at a retake because you know that the plant's going to go down. The Echo drone can be used for denial, but when you're 1 versus 4, really what can you do? You're not going to be given the time or space to get into those yokais and start to look to deny the plant. Team 1 there with a really nice take of that solarium side. INTZ forced onto their second site. They're going to be going downstairs to bar for this one. See if they can gain any advantage there. We did get a nice kill there. Levy with those 2 kills on the repel. It's just beautiful stuff. Very difficult to deal with.
Just 1 round though. Now INTZ are going to bar, which is what most teams go for as their primary site. And I would say it's the one that has the most defined setup. You know, you get different options on other sites, but this one you typically see the same thing. You oftentimes have someone playing at the top of the library. You're going to find shields in the library corridor. Many times you'll have someone up on the mezzanine as well, maybe also behind a shield. But the whole idea typically is that the attackers are going to head in through from master or from bathroom or gain control of piano, move their way, take control of the library stairs. And once they have that, they can actually execute onto the site. What you oftentimes see as well is attackers looking to take control of library itself so that they can hold vertical angles down into the site. It means that if you are the defenders, if you can put up enough utility in the upstairs that it just takes so long to burn through, or the attackers simply can't burst through it, it's virtually impossible for the attackers to actually take the site itself.
Alamau could see some success here. He's on the right lines. He's going to open up the line of sight as well and just give him something more to work with. Typically, you would see a lot of attacker focus on getting control of library stairs. At the moment, that isn't something that we've seen all too much of. Instead, it's been a little bit of a flatter push in through this kitchen area. There's still time for that to materialize. You do start to worry about the utility that the attackers have got left to start dealing with things like those shields. Obviously, the Goyo ban is going to assist, because there's only going to be 2 as opposed to multiple shields to really have to deal with. Neskin, great shot there over onto Hornetow. Not quite library control, but it's the first step.
It was a nice spot as well. It was just narrowly through a pixel. There's one defender, there's Zach, who's watching the library window from afar. But with a couple of those attackers nearby, it shouldn't take too long to seek him out if he's not careful. And you can see the drone just placed there, trying to catch any sight of movement. It's actually going to be sent forwards, and Zach could find himself being seen very soon. So it does suggest to me Team 1 do want to be taking library control despite a lot of their attention that's been paid downstairs. There's the shield at the top of the library stairs too, and finally Zach gets stunned out, but it's Lagonis to find the next kill.
KDS is now looking to put a bit of pressure on as well. VNX does take down Neskin, but Lagonis, he's already in the site. He's getting the plant down just opposite the big window. The Toxic Babe canister comes in. It's too late. Vitz, he is in the 1 versus 3 now. The plant's gone down. He's on the smoke and he's upstairs. Still got 2 smoke canisters left, but they're not going to be much good now. He can use them to cut off lines of sight and potentially give himself an opportunity to see where that plant has gone down. Realistically, he has a lot of kills to find here. He's going to go for a bit of a run out. Like he's really clutching at straws here, as we can see from the silhouettes, the kind of crossfire Team 1 have been able to set themselves up for here. Again, going outside, giving the game away, and well, we know there's not enough time to get that disabled. He's going to challenge with the shotgun, find himself an exit frag potentially, but not even that. Neither player wanting to commit. Team 1 there. Nice little plant, sneaking it down by Lagonis.
So I love how I went on this whole spiel at the beginning about the standard way of setting up for that site and how attackers typically go about it, and Team 1 really subverted the expectations that was set up. INTZ did go for that more standard defensive setup, but Team 1 decided to pretty much entirely ignore what was happening over in Piano, Master, didn't bother trying to take that control. The only upstairs that they really focused on was Library, and then they actually looked to come into the site from a lateral perspective and enter in through the same floor, holding the upstairs angles. I mean, it's almost akin to when you would see, for example, a kitchen attack on Coastline, where you might have some players go in upstairs to hold the angles, but everyone else coming in either through service or from Sunrise side. So that's kind of the approach that Team One took in that round. I think it took in somewhat by surprise. They lost some of the defensive prowess that they had in Library when Hornetown was taken down, meaning Zach had to hold there for as long as he possibly could. And of course, Team One were doing their work downstairs, much of which we didn't really get to see, but, you know, INTZ didn't have the predominance of their defense based down there. You usually have one guy in backstore, and then that's kind of it.
I didn't really even see any pressure for that library control. You know, Team One really, as you say, went for that alternate approach. INTZ kind of left wondering at this stage. Now, we have seen site change again, as it's actually going to be kitchen this time. So INTZ struggling to find that sort of site where they can pick up a couple of rounds and just trying to really do the full sweep, hit the circuit, and see if anything is going to stick for them. Team One don't look too phased at all. Their operator lineup hasn't really changed throughout the course of the rounds so far, so pretty happy to just go up against whatever it might be. I want to see INTZ challenge a little bit better on this opening engagement, because it's something that Team One are kind of being given for free now.
And I was bigging up Zach. I was saying he'd been doing pretty well for the opening engagements of late.
He has, though. It's
well, yeah. It's not even that that's changed. It's just INTZ need to start getting a couple.
Yeah.
Well, at least so far, you know, we're getting to the halfway point and everyone's still alive. There's that.
It's a bonus. You'll find some bright sides.
Lagonas can get going opening up the office wall, of course, because this is a kitchen defense, and again, they want the vertical control. But there is a defense here present in office and over in piano as well. It's going to get aggressive on the door. Lagonas takes quite a lot of damage for that.
Neskin this time will find the opener onto Hornetown. Again, a kill that, in the meantime, goes unresponded. With this hole into Master now, it's going to be very easy for Team One to flush out these players upstairs as Neskin looks to advance on through. Looks like he knows that somebody's inside of the bathroom, excuse me, and maybe try and put a bit of a challenge onto that player. Alamal there ready to cut off the rotation as well if it does arise. It's going to be Zach, actually. He's already trying to dig himself into that corner. It does shut down Alamal on that Solarium Repel, so it's going to open things up somewhat, but Zach will eventually fall. Still an advantage here for Team One, but they've spent a lot of time on this vertical. They'll have a couple of kills to find in this final 20 seconds. This is going to be playing all the way downstairs. He does have a C4, so we could potentially try and deny a plant if it comes to that. Drunks to the bottom of West Main and is likely going to get pushed pretty soon, but he finds the kill over onto KDS. Vitz has joined him at the bottom of those West Main stairs, and they're really going to force this plant out now. This C4 lands, it could be quite big. It is going to land, but not onto Lagonis. Plant will be confirmed. Neskin with the swing. Knew exactly where he was going to be coming from. How has that default survived until like 1 second remaining? Team One.
I mean, one thing that Team One have always been very good at, which they're doing very well in this game so far, is playing off of the big window in Master. And actually, the way that Team One have been surrounding that top floor, a couple of the players of INTZ, both in that last round and on the, it must have been the first round, have been caught in the crossfire there. Zach was the victim in that one because he was trying to take the engagement on bathroom, didn't actually get killed by Neskin on the bathroom window, but he backed out. And, you know, when you back out into piano, you walk directly into the line of sight from the master window, which was being held by KDS at the time. as soon as Zach was taken down, Levy had taken control of Office, so it meant that Master was really entirely safe for KDS to walk in on. And at that point, if you're Team 1, you can walk into Bathroom, you already have Office, you've walked into Master, you have entire control of the upstairs. So all of that was basically achieved by Team 1 surrounding and asphyxiating what was happening on the top floor. I really think that for INTZ, the linchpin there would have been if they had been able to get the aggressive opening engagement from Office, where Hornetown was playing, then they would have been able to hold on to it much stronger because they wouldn't have had the 3 separate angles giving them control of the top floor. But since it was quite easy for them to take that first kill onto Hornetown, it made it way easier to set up the crossfires and punish anybody who was upstairs. Now, the thing with Hornetown is he's the sort of player who you can tell when he gets pissed off. If he feels like the team are losing too many rounds, he goes into this kind of Super Saiyan kind of mode. So, waiting for that one, because he's been caught out a couple of times, Ollie.
Yeah, yesterday we saw him have quite a good game as well, and seems to just be falling on the wrong side here. INTZ are desperate to pick up a round somewhere, though, because they can't afford to not win a single round here on the defense. Gone down to bar again now. Vitz has already dropped himself out of library, and there's not really that much pressure. It was a drone and a couple of players on the window, but obviously feel like he didn't have the sufficient support. ADS just trying to clear out this wine cellar. He does have a drone working for him, likely from Lagone. It's going to find a great frag over onto Vitz. KDS there. Little bit of a peek. Perfect crosshair placement. And again, an opening kill here for Team 1.
So they decided not to return to Master for the first sight of the cycle. Drunks is going to be getting pressured here. It's the wall right beside him in backstore is going to be opened by Lagunis. He's not too worried about it at this point. He knows that, you know, judging by Team 1's gameplay, they could be seeking to set up a crossfire, so he doesn't want to detract his attention from what could potentially be a more important angle, at least not while there's any direct challenging coming in through that breach. There's a couple of players. Oh no, just one, but there's a drone. Hornetown, there we go. It's a nice kill onto KDS.
Could this be the start of Super Hornetown? Potentially.
The revenge.
Potentially. Lagonis has hopped on in. He's going to try and get the plant down in the same spot. The Yokai drone's missed him twice. Been able to get the plant down. He has fallen eventually, but only Hornetown left. Yeah, tough old push here for Hornetown to try and contend with. Finds himself one, but is immediately traded on out. Good play there from Team 1 to get themselves back up and challenge on to Hornetown, but ultimately, a lot of planting out there that really went awry.
I think the reason the Yokai drone missed him is because there wasn't an echo being played. I actually think it was an air jab.
What were the shockwaves, the air jabs?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it looked, because it was just perfectly like lined up, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean it was, and actually the fact that there was an air jab it does come down to the same thing that you were saying, is that things went wrong with the denial. Because if you've got to rely on an actual guy to go into the right room and kill the planter, and you're being denied by the air jabs, then there is no denial onto the plant. It doesn't really matter whether it's a gadget or a gun that's being relied on to do it. If you are being denied by any reason because of the attackers, then yeah, the plant denial has gone down the drain. That is what happened. There was a lot of smoke. They had the air jab set up. And then as soon as, I don't even remember who it was who did get air jabbed, but whoever it was got DBNO'd immediately. So Lagonis was totally safe.
The smoke's missing as well really didn't help, and it's the second time now that Lagonis has been able to sneak a plant down there. Team 1 are playing a really nice plant-focused game at the moment as well. We've seen them at least attempt to plant, or in fact, have we seen them get a plant down in every single round? I believe we have.
We have indeed. Yeah, well, round 3 they were planting, but the round ended just before the plant finished.
It was an attempt.
But like, it counts, right?
Yeah.
Like, because, you know, to all intents and purposes, they got the plant down.
Yeah.
They just won too quickly.
Always difficult to go against when you're going against an attacking side that is so regularly planting that diffuser and gaining all the advantages. This looks like an entirely different Team 1. This looks like the Team 1 that we saw at the back end of Stage 1. It looks like the Team 1 that we saw at SI. They've come out here in an entirely different mindset.
Yeah, it almost feels like they needed a couple of play days to just warm back up, like get rid of the rust a little bit and get back into that fully synergized mode. And that's what we're seeing from them so far here. I mean, maybe it'll change on the defense. It is a slightly less pressurizing opponent. Vitz is going to get away with his life as he sees the gunshots come in through the window. Heading back down to a roam downstairs, which is something that INTZ have been going for quite a bit in a number of their rounds so far, actually. Now, this is that coveted big window that we like to see a couple of players from Team 1 play on. This time it's Levy. We've seen KDS before, but he's on the other side of the map this time. Doesn't look like there's any defenders around to be caught in any crossfires, though. You got one over towards Piano. He actually hears the run out. Doesn't quite land it, but it is going to make it so much harder to play on the big window now that he knows that's going to happen.
Start to rely a little bit more heavily on those air jabs to try and keep you alive as well. Zach this time is going to find a frag over onto Levy to open things up, but it's traded back out. Zach picks himself up too. Still going to be out there as a threat. This is the Zach that we've come to know. Picks up 3 kills in the round. There's still a minute left. Gets himself downstairs. He's got vertical angles to contend with. He's going to pick up the quad. Is this going to be Zach's first ace? Quite possibly. Does he know that Neskin is going to be on the Solarium set? Pre-fires on 3. He finds the ace. Look at the player cam at the end of that one.
Yeah, we just needed a couple of rounds for Zach to prove himself in this game. He's been showing up big and certainly nice to see. A good way for INTZ to put their first round on the board. Being able to directly target those ways that Team 1 like to play really helped in that round. Even though the big window thing, it seems kind of minute. You had a defender, and it actually might have been Zach. Zach has been playing up there, and through the silhouette, it did look like it was a Jaeger, but, you know, maybe I'm blind. But I think it probably was Zach who was up there. And immediately, you take a lot of pressure off of that defender to deny the angle from big window onto them. And even if that run out wasn't successful, as it wasn't, Levy is left wondering, if I just get back on the window rappel, is this going to happen again?
Always a tough one. Nice to see INTZ pick themselves up around there. Still a chance to come out of this at 2-4. You can't rely on Zach for an ace every single round. There's going to have to be of a contribution made from the other players as well, but I'm sure that that's done quite a bit for the mental, because this game really wasn't going their way at all, and it looks as though for a time it could have been a 7-0, but still INTZ have managed to stop that at least, and they've been able to get themselves one here. If they can be successful downstairs in this bar, they could end, like we say, at 2-4, but we've got to come up with a different strategy for trying to hold this bar, because Team 1 are just so happy to push on through and get the plant down on the sofas inside of games that it really just, it's becoming a little bit of a problem at this point.
So back down to bar. I suspect that the outcome of that last round has made INTZ feel more confident they can actually clean up on the defense they're doing. Oh, look at this. You just got one guy just chilling out in library, being held angles from all sorts of sides. There's the Nay getting cooked. Actually going to drop down the hatch. That's at a good time. I like that timing there from INTZ. They know when to recall their defenders and not get caught out on the roam.
I guess the advantage there for Team 1 is that it hasn't actually cost them anything there. Neskin didn't use any of his nades. He had one in his hand, but as soon as he got the call that the player dropped, he was able to repocket that grenade and save it. We've still got that utility for later on. Levy is to just try and keep himself alive, as he doesn't want to walk past that library window for some reason. Still, Team 1 semi-tentative here, fact-finding and looking to gain that information. Levy is going to find a frag over onto Zach, shutting him down after his previous round. 2 kills go in favor of Team 1. INTZ a little bit weakened yet again. Now, Neskin has fallen, so the couple of grenades that he was able to save, and obviously the caber to open up a lot of that floor isn't going to be a factor here in the remainder of this round. Drunks is keeping a keen eye on that games room window as he doesn't want Lagonis to just hop on in again.
Another kill onto Hornet Tower. He's not been having the best time so far. 3 and 6 in this game. Unfortunate, but... Oh, I was going to say there's 2 players left. That was a brutal nade straight onto VNX. Gets blown to smithereens, and Drunks is just left to try and play from backstore. Holding multiple angles is never a good idea when you're the only guy remaining. Team 1 take that round and finish off the half on a 5-1.
Not quite the 6-0 that it looks like it might be for a time, but still, I'm sure Team 1 are very happy with a 5-1 split. 2 rounds is all that is required from them here. Now, Chalet has been one of those maps that potentially has fallen into the attacker favor. But is it attacker-sided enough for Team 1, for INTZ, to be able to get this one back to a level playing field and potentially take some points here out of this one? It's going to be a big ask for them. A difference, though, that we are going to see is INTZ are going to bring the Flores pretty much straight away, which is kind of curious, seeing that there is only 1 shield to deal with, but position of said shield and where it is likely going to be played is going to be at the top of library stairs. And that's always a bit of a tough area to try and take on as an attacker. And if we notice and remember, it's an area that we didn't really see Team 1 pay any attention to when they were on the attack. They didn't try and take the top of library stairs. In part because it's quite difficult and they had a different plan and they wanted to just take control of library. So if Team 1 are able to maybe put that defense and set it up a little bit heavily inside of that library area, depending on where the shield goes down, could be a nice area for Flores to try and use his gadget.
The other side to it is as well something that I brought up at the beginning, and that is the way that Santos tried to attack against Team 1 yesterday. One of the problems they ran into was that they would get quite late in the round and then kind of realize that there was still a lot of utility left up that they hadn't dealt with in time. It made it really hard for them to push in through to hookah defenses, for example, on coastline. So INTZ bringing a Flores, you know, that's a lot of power to be able to take down utility. And when Team 1 are only relying on just 1 shield, you can get rid of that early and ensure that it's down, because even if you don't get the first drone correct, you can get the next one, or the next one, or the next one, because there are 4 of them. I think it gives INTZ a really good opportunity to... Oh, no! Oh, the run out. Almau hitting his shots there, and Vitz kind of realized a bit too late. I was going to say, it could give INTZ a really good opportunity to ensure that the utility is down that needs to be.
Zach is going to be looking to make an entry on through this solarium side, through bathroom, through piano, and try and make his way on in. But again, fighting from a man down. Not ideal. The Frostmat's an ever-present danger and threat as well. Ornatow, he's popped into that window on the Gemini. Is there a Frostmat under the window? We'll never know. He might find out. I don't know where they've been played, because it's always fun to see a Frostmat gain a frag. Ornatow will have gathered a little bit of intel there. He knows that somebody's going to be playing on those library stairs. Neskin, he's able to shut down Zach from that exact position. The info wasn't exchanged quickly enough, or if it was a bit of a careless challenge. Hornetow has the Gon 6 in hand to try and burn out onto that ADS. Drunks is taking advantage over on the site. He's taken down Alamau. As a bit of a double-pronged push here from INTZ has resulted in a couple of frags. KDS shuts down Hornetow in a frag that should never have gone his way. Levy and KDS back-to-back in the library.
That was so unfortunate. I mean, he spotted KDS before KDS even spotted him. That was just a matter of not hitting your shots. But I think it did also highlight a problem with the attack from INTZ, and that is that they didn't clear out library. You know, if you've got a couple of people still in there at that point in the round, you need that space. You need that space, and you had the utility to ensure that that was taken. Well, now Team One are sat on match point, and I'm not really sure what INTZ have given us to suggest that this is going to go any different way to what it has been so far in this game, Ollie.
It is a tough one, isn't it? There's nothing really that is screaming to us that INTZ have it in them to grab a couple of rounds here. Team One are 1 round away, and it's looking like we could be having quite a short start to the evening if it continues this way. INTZ are just not able to hang, and I don't think they've got that confidence at the moment. They don't seem to be a team that's playing with a lot of confidence. There's a lot of strange challenges that are going down. I think to, you know, Zach challenging Neskin on those library stairs previously, INTZ knew exactly where Neskin was. They just got the info from the Gemini. oNe was able to gather that information, and it should be something that you can, you know, Gone 6 through, burn the ADS, throw a couple of nades in, have somebody downstairs watching for that cross, watching for that rotation, but instead it gets challenged, and it isn't an angle that needs to be challenged at that point, because Team One have already proved to us today that they're all hitting the shots. None of them are having a particularly bad day.
I think the really difficult thing about this is that Team One have been pretty jammy here and decided to go down to the basement, which is not a very common bomb site, but it means that INTZ likely weren't going to expect that. And I mean, when you look at their lineup, you consider the fact that they've only brought a thermite for hard breach. How many things would you maybe like to consider opening with a hard breacher if attacking onto the garage? You've got a hatch to worry about. You've got 3 different walls that I can think of that could all be options. You know, if you're looking for the actual external garage wall, or you can do it from the corridor on the other side of the site. You know, you only carry 2 exothermic charges. Instantly, it puts you in a really limited spot. I almost think this is like a big exploitation of INTZ's situation right now.
This really isn't a sight that we see all too often. As you say, it starts to throw a little bit of a spanner in the works, because you have got a very limited option to try and open things up. This is a push that is likely going to end up coming through a single doorway, and that's never ideal. And especially with the way that Team One are aggressing all around the map. We've got Neskin. Just got to the halfway point in the round, and he's still not got himself back down to site. He's still looking to try and be a nuisance at the bottom of these stairs, and he's going to find a frag over onto Drunks. He was just sat there doing 360s, and eventually somebody came and presented themselves to him. KDS, he shuts down Zach as well. He picks a second onto oNe before being refragged out eventually. VNX, the sole hard breacher, it's not even going to come to it. Levy pushes on through from Bar, finds that final frag. A 7-1 here for Team One on Chalet.
Lots of improvements have been made by INTZ over the last few weeks, but today it simply was not enough. And I think their lack of experience on Chalet plays into that, but also just the coordination with which Team One were playing today. They looked so strong, so infallible in the way that they were going about both their attacks and defenses, and even in situations in which INTZ had the upper hand on 1v1s, they just didn't seem to be hitting their shots today. And I hate relying on that as a reason for fights being lost. I feel like in most cases, there is a much bigger reason why they are not. But some of the fights that we saw today, you simply cannot put down to anything else than one person's aim and